Broadcasting live from station WDWL TV, the home of not one but two stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. By popular demand, your host, Grumpy Stern. And back by popular demand, also the Grumpy Jackalope. Oh, and the asshole Grumpy Vulture brings us the show again tonight. I'll hear about that. How is everyone doing tonight? And hopefully the mic ain't too loud because I've been having all kinds of problems. I don't know if it's with OBS or what, but my audio adjustments just don't seem to be staying where they belong. I don't know why everything's so dark. Maybe this light needs to be boosted up another notch. Oh! Well, I didn't want it that high. Let's see. Supposed to have a dimmer on it. Whoop. No. No. Be nice if I could see the controls. No. 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 There we go. That looks good. I'm going to have to lose these stupid sunglasses again. I had some sunglasses, and I can't find them, that have a little bit of a bifocal cut in them. And I can't find them. I thought they were out in the shit box. They weren't there. I don't remember taking them out because they're like the hat glasses that I wear. But the top is just plain plastic, or not magnified, and it's got a bifocal cut in it. And I was like, oh, those would be great for the show because that way I could read the chat. And you think I could find them? Don't know where I put them. The last place they were in the shit box, but who knows what I did. I looked in the RAV4, they weren't in there. I wore this to the store today. It's amazing. I was basically like ignoring people, but out of the corner of my eye, I was watching them. I walked down the aisle, and people are like, "The hell's he got on his head?" I had fun. The only problem is it's not long enough in the back. If I pull it up, then it's too high. Of course, it's probably made for a little different head, but I loved the looks I was getting. People were like, oh, Look at the old guy trying to look young. Of course, none of the cashiers that knew me were there today, so. Well, we know what happened to Annie, and as far as Olivia, on her. But the looks I was getting out of people, I could see they were thinking, this guy should be at Walmart, not Mark's. And this goofy curl, I can't get it this way. Stay up. Come on. Stupid thing. Stay up. It'll stay there. See, as soon as I... Come on, Jesus. Get up there. Stay up. It'll fall down again. I got a phone call today from my buddy's son out in Burbank. They have been testing high-end podcast microphones. And he is sending me, I wrote it down here somewhere. It's called an AKG, which makes these outstanding headphones. Lyra C44 USB Ultra High Def Podcast Mic. I can't wait to get that one. Said the company sent him like 12. 6 of them were brand new. And when he realized that there were 6 brand new ones in the box, he grabbed one out and stashed it in his office so the employees wouldn't take the rest. So I can't wait to get that one. He told me that basically for podcasting, now we're not talking studio. He said for podcasting, besides the Shure. Now, I looked at Shure microphones, and a lot of podcasters and YouTubers use the Shure microphones. Them suckers are like $400. Now, if you're monetized, fine. For a little podunk channel like mine, I ain't spending $400 on a microphone. Because I'm, cheap. So I can't wait to get this Lyra. Then I watched the case. Oh, Jesus. It was out of Lake County in front of Judge O'Donnell. And it was a murder trial. And it was involving a 32-day-old baby. 32 days old. The coroner said besides the traumatic brain injury and fractured skull, this 32-day-old baby had 29 separate fractures. What did this guy do? throw that baby off the top of a building? And, you know, I'll admit, babies are irritating at times. Take it from someone who knows. Because, as I had mentioned once before, my son was born with bilateral club feet. As a matter of fact, one foot was upside down and backwards. He went through multiple surgeries from a year old up to age 6. You think a regular baby can get on your nerves. Imagine one after surgery. And I'll tell you what, as much as he got on my nerves, there was never once I even thought of approaching him in a pissed off mood. For 2 reasons. One, it wasn't his fault. And 2, he was my one and only. How someone can take a 32-day-old child and inflict 29 different body fractures plus a traumatic brain injury and fractured skull. I can't imagine it. The mother was away at work because she didn't have maternity leave. And he was alone with the child. And you would think, if this child was getting on his nerves that bad, he would first of all go into another room and call someone for help. But no. He must have thrown that poor kid around like a rag doll. And it managed to survive in the hospital for 7 days. And you should have heard the disgusting drivel that came out of his mouth before sentencing. You know, the old, I must have blacked out because I don't remember all of it. What a crock of bullshit. You take your kid and evidently must have slammed it down several times or shook the shit out of it. Had 29 separate body fractures. Needless to say, he got life without parole, but that didn't really cure anything. Everybody was left with the misery. How, like I say, there were times, oh man, I wanted to lock the kid in a trunk. But not once did I ever think of laying one angry finger on him because his irritation was caused by all the surgeries on his legs and feet. And I went through that for 6 years. Because he had to have multiple surgeries. Now, fortunately, you really can't tell unless he's wearing shorts. Because they had to do extensive work on the one leg. And from the knee down, it's about half the thickness of the other leg. And the foot is, well, let's see, 1.5 times smaller. Yeah, because he wears he wears size 12, but they say that the other foot is a 10.5. Otherwise, you can't tell. Actually, well worth it, considering what I saw right after he was born. Boy, I'll tell you what, you never saw a group of nurses move as fast as they did. Because, I'm in the delivery room, and, out he comes, yucky. Oh, they're cleaning him up, and I'm leaning over the nurse's shoulder, and I went, what the hell's wrong with his feet? And boy, blankets and towels went over him. Out the door he went. And the doctor said, we'll let you see him in about an hour. So then the doctor came in and he went, nothing we can't correct surgically. I was like, what do you mean? The foot's upside down and backwards. No problem. 12 hours after he was born, and it goes to show how basically flexible babies are. They literally twisted that foot back where it belonged, and then instantly put a cast on. And for the first year, he had casts from the hips down on both legs. Imagine the fun of that. Every 2 weeks, you got to go in and get recasted. I felt like I lived in the casting room after a while. But not one time, as much as he got on my nerves, did I ever think of laying one angry finger on him. And here's a baby, 32 days old, that literally got the shit kicked out of it. The coroner said he can't even figure out what the guy did. First of all, the guy didn't admit to everything. And the coroner says, I just can't understand in one day how this kid got 29 fractures. He had to use that thing like a punching bag, throw it around like a rag doll. Obviously, someone not meant for fatherhood. Then I watched a case out of, oh, where the hell was it? Oh, Judge Stevens. Good old Judge Stevens. I love him. He had a 17-year-old that, amongst other things, because he'd been on probation from like age 12, he got arrested right after a drive-by shooting. Now, luckily, didn't hit anybody. They do a search warrant under his mattress. They found 4 AR-15s, 4 AK-47s, 3 9mm Glocks with extended clips, 2 Dracos with 100-round drum magazines, and a 9mm Smith & Wesson with dual 100-round drum magazine. Where does a 17-year-old get all this firepower? 17 years old and had a military arsenal under his mattress. I don't know. Where in the hell do you get shit like this? And a Draco, that ain't that easy to come by. And he had 2 of them. Evidently, in Texas, they must pass these things out like, church flyers. Here, you want an AK-47? Here you go. They showed pictures. The officers doing the search were shocked. They picked up that mattress, and the officer was like, holy fuck. And evidently the kid didn't get a very good night's sleep, because that had to be really lumpy sleeping on all them guns. 17 years old with a military arsenal. Of course, I found them. What do you walk down the street and on your neighbor's front lawn is an AK-47? Oh, look at this. Oh. Yeah, he didn't want to rat out anybody. Well, I found them. And Judge Stevens, you found them where? Oh, in bushes, garbage cans. He said, oh, you just happened to be walking down the street and looked in someone's garbage can and went, oh, look at this. An AR-15. Guy's throwing away a perfectly good gun. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh, plus, in his closet, they found a box with 5,000 rounds of ammo. 5,000 rounds. Happened to go to Goodwill one day and went, oh, look, a box of ammo. How much? Couple bucks? Okay. Jesus. Salute. Oh. It seems like every bottle I open is more sour than the last one. I was watching some clips of Howard Stern in the studio. And I happened to catch one where the camera kind of went in for a close-up. He's broadcasting with a $3,500 Neumann microphone. Now, Neumann is a real high-end studio mic. Of course, you know, what the hell's Stern making? A gazillion dollars a year? You know, he can afford that. It's what is Sirius paying him? It's like $100 million a year or something. I know it's something outlandish. And he just extended his contract for 3 more years. I'm going to have to look it up again. It's something utterly ridiculous. You know, it's almost like a goddamn NFL player. Well, even more than that. Like a salary that they'd pay Elon Musk. There's another one. That guy couldn't even spend the interest on his money in a lifetime. I cannot imagine having the money that he's got. I think he's like one of the richest men in the world. I can't imagine having that kind of money. I wonder if he drives a Tesla. Knowing him, he's got probably got a fleet of Rolls Royces hidden away somewhere. That's like a couple weeks ago. There was an article, and it listed like him, and then another one. What's his name? Bezos from Amazon. I think they're running neck and neck. It's just unbelievable. That was almost as bad as, oh, it's several years ago. And it made the national news with, of course, I start something and then I go blank. What's Mr. Microsoft? I can't think of his name. I just went totally blank. I guess before I start talking about things, I should be writing them down. I can't think of his name. I blank. I just drew a total blank. $90 to $120 million annually for Stern. Can you imagine that? To sit and talk into a microphone. Not to mention, they built a complete studio in his house. He don't even have to leave the house to go to work. He just walks to the other end of the house where the studio is, has a full production crew. I mean, it's just like the studio. Yeah, get up in the morning and go, I don't feel like going to work today. I'll just go to the other end of the house. Isn't that ridiculous? That kind of money to just sit and talk into a microphone. I can't. I just can't imagine that kind of money. All right, Kathy, help me out. I'm still blank on Mr. Microsoft. I can't, Steve Jobs pops into my head. Wrong company. I cannot think of his. Probably because I read more on Steve Jobs than I have on Mr. Microsoft. Bill Gates. God damn it. Thanks. Thanks, Lynx Fur. Several years ago, he stops at McDonald's to get a couple of Egg McMuffins. He didn't have his wallet and didn't have any cash. Now, of course, the manager at McDonald's went, don't worry about it. How do you go out of the house without a wallet or some money in your pocket? Mainly because with what you're worth, You don't figure you got to carry a wallet or carry any cash. Yeah, he pulls up to the drive-thru. He orders a couple of Egg McMuffins and a cup of coffee. And then he's like, oh, I don't have any money. Of course, the manager wasted no time calling the news media. I saw some really old YouTube videos of when Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and I can't remember the other three, were really young. And I'm talking like maybe if they're 18 or 19 years old. And all five of them, because three of them were software, like the one he invented the 1-2-3 spreadsheet, and I can't remember the other two. There was Gates and Steve and two. The one I think he invented Lotus. But to look at them, and they barely look like they're out of junior high school, and already had a godzillion dollars. Of course, the age of the computer, boy, anything to do with the computer took off back in the day. A good friend of mine had a company where he designed computer rooms because, back in the day, you had to have a separate room and, hefty air conditioning systems. And he was here in Ohio, and he designed computer rooms. And like within the first 2 or 3 years, he had more money than he could spend. Of course, the money went to his head, buying high horsepower cars and, had to have 5 or 6 Rolexes. I mean, he's got some money now, but nothing like he had back in the beginning days of computers. Matter of fact, the last time I talked to him, he had what the hell Mustang did he have? A GT 500? Yeah, the GT 500 Mustang. And what the hell? The goddamn Camaro that he's got. Oh, I can't think of the name of the company that modified that Camaro. Two big ultra high horsepower cars that worth a small fortune. Oh, I can't think of that company that modified that goddamn Camaro. That freaking Camaro's like 800 horsepower or more. And the GT 500 Mustang, he sent that out and had that engine modified. That thing's like 1,100 horsepower. I'm like, what the hell you need that kind of horsepower to drive on the freeway? But it's just knowing you got that horsepower under your foot, you know. But every now and then he cries poor mouth, oh, I wish I had the money I had in the 80s. Well, if you didn't go spin crazy, how many people need 6 or 7 Rolexes? Christ, I buy my goddamn watches off of Temu. Of course, they only last a couple of months, but they look real impressive until you take the back off to put a battery in them, and then they typical Chinese junk. But they look good. The only thing is, when they go haywire, I don't feel bad throwing them away, you know. Pay $8, $9 for a watch that looks like it's worth $5,000. Then it quits working and in the garbage. Oh, by the way, Kathy, did you finally get my emails? I remembered a little late this afternoon to send them. I wish I could figure a way of mounting them eyeball lights in the Passat. I might have to take the headlight assemblies out. And I would love to have them eyeball lights. But I don't know how the hell I'd mount them in there. You got them good. Now, if you go in and search, the ones that go in like the back window or the front window, there are like 12, 15 different versions. Different size eyes, different colors. I think a set of them would look cool in your F-150. Although, I don't know what Tennessee motor vehicle laws are like. Some of that shit might be illegal. But it'd be cool. Matter of fact, there was one set, you can hook them up, use them for stoplights, turn signals, have an eye winking. But I know some states don't like that shit. Pooey. Yeah, I was digging around for microphones today, and I was like, oh, I haven't used the multicolor one in a while. It sounds good in my ears. I think I'll use this one for a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, I was going through microphones going, holy shit. And then my buddy's son calls me and goes, hey, I'm sending you another microphone. You think I would say, no, I don't need any more? I was like, okay, give me the tracking number. Yeah, some states don't like that shit. Like the rock lights or underbody lights. I know some states are deadly on that stuff. I know California is. You ain't allowed to have any of that shit in California. Not at all. Because the kid that lives up the street that's got the Jeep pickup, he's got green ones up in the fender wells, and they illuminate the tires. That's one mean looking truck. I'll tell you what. I don't know where he got the headlights for that thing. They're green, and the front of that truck looks pissed off. I keep trying to catch him. Either he's going up the street or going down the street. I keep trying to catch him when he pulls in his driveway. Because I like to see all the lights he's got on that thing. But he's a green freak like me. Green headlights, green fog lights, green LED lights up on the fenders, a big green LED fog light that goes from one end of the roof of the other. And he's got the green lights up in the fender wells. It looks mean at night. Real mean at night. But see, Cleveland, they don't give a shit. There's a girl that lives a couple of streets over. She's got a I think it's a Charger. Yeah, it's either a Charger. Yeah, it's a Charger. And she had it painted pink. And it's got pink headlights and pink fog lights and pink underbody lights. Yeah, Kathy, I don't know where he got them headlights. They got green halos in them. And then when he turns the headlight on, the way the projector beams are inside of them, it looks really pissed off. And you know, they're the 7-inch round ones, so they look even cooler. That's why I keep trying to catch him. Like, where do you buy your stuff from? But I would love to put a set of them eyeball lights in the high beam section on the Passat. I think what I'm going to have to do is take, when the weather gets better, take the headlight assemblies out of the car, because there's only 3 bolts holding it in, and then doing some measuring, and maybe I have to do a little with a Dremel tool. But I would love to have them headlights. Let's see, did I talk about everything on my note? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, did you hear the joke about a cow and a pig and a chicken that walk into a barbecue? The end. Corny joke, I know. I've been waiting to use that one. I keep forgetting. I told that one to one of the cashiers up at Mark's. She looked at me and went, yeah, and? I said, listen, a cow, a pig, and a chicken walk into a barbecue. She's like, yeah. The end. The end of what? Never mind. I said, matter of fact, write it down, go home and think about it. Yeah, I heard that one, oh God, it's several months ago. And it was on the radio, some disc jockey. I happen to have the radio on in the car. And I'm laughing my ass off. And I could, the person next to me is like, oh, don't look that way. Just when the light changes, just go straight ahead. Yeah, I love corny jokes. I love corny jokes. But you got to think about it for a second. You know, a cow, a pig, a chicken walk into a barbecue. The end. And then it hits you because they became barbecue. Tonight for dinner, I'm having the other half of the batch of pierogies. And on my grocery list for Mark's, I have another pan of pierogies. Oh my God. They taste, oh God, they taste so close to my grandmother's. Sorry. Don't, no lightning bolts. Not to mention, you talk about generous with the sauteed onions. Holy, I opened that lid and I went, are there any pierogies in here? I see onions. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Then I wonder why my cholesterol's still out of whack. Yeah, I had fun choking that pill down last night. Jesus Christ. You would think in the days of modern medicine they would make the pills a little smaller. I've never heard that one. I love it. Why do cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. I've never heard that. That one's hilarious. I love that one. I think when I go to Mark's, I'll tell that one to the cashier. Although she's probably still trying to figure out the cow, pig, and chicken joke. Yeah, I said, now think about it, dear. I said, a cow, got it? Mm-hmm. A pig, mm-hmm. And a chicken, mm-hmm. Walk into a barbecue, mm-hmm. The end. I don't get it. I said, write it down and think about it when you get home. I'll get the same look. How come cows wear bells? Because their horns don't work. Write it down. Go home, think about it. Like I say, she's probably still thinking about the cow, pig, and chicken. Like, I could see her walk up to her mother and say, I heard this joke at work. I don't get it, Mom. Okay, what's the joke? A cow, a pig, and a chicken walk into a barbecue. Okay, the end. And her mother's standing there laughing her ass off. And the daughter's like a blonde going, I don't get it. Like the blonde joke. How come the blonde was carrying a car door out into the desert? Because when she got hot, she could roll the window down. Oh. God, remember when that's all you heard was blonde jokes? Every day, somebody had a new blonde joke. Matter of fact, somebody had published a book. It was a paperback, and it must have had 1,000 blonde jokes in it. I bought it. I don't know whatever happened to it. I think I lent it to somebody. I never saw it again. Yeah, it was called The Book of Blonde Jokes. Or 1,000 Blonde Jokes or something like that. I think it was called 1,000 Blonde Jokes. Oh, yeah, Kathy, disc jockeys. Oh, God, you heard them on the radio. The only place you didn't see them was like in the comic section of the newspaper. I think the newspapers, they were like, no, we can't go that far. But they were in, God, I remember Playboy magazine always had blonde jokes in it. Boy, after Hugh Hefner died, his daughter didn't waste any time killing that magazine. Going forward, our magazine will not have photographs. Sales dropped 90% overnight. Although by then, you didn't have to buy a Playboy magazine. You'd get 500 million pictures off the internet. So what the hell, you know? But yeah, she killed circulation of that magazine real fast. Except for the people that were the true liars that said, I buy that magazine for the articles. Yeah, right. That was the big lie back in the day. Oh, I don't buy it for the pictures. I buy it for the articles. They have the best writers on earth. Yeah, I'll believe that one as soon as they say pigs fly. But it's amazing how all them magazines kind of vanished. Playboy, Hustler. What the hell were the other ones? Playboy and Hustler were the big ones. As a matter of fact, it amazes me. Up on Berea Road is a we'll call it X-rated DVD shop. And it's amazing the place is still in business. I drive past it all the time when I'm going up to the homeless depot. And it's still in business. First of all, how many people besides me still have DVD players? Evidently, they must rent DVD players too, because in order to stay in business, somebody got to have a DVD player. And that place has been in business for over 30 years. Still open. And it's in order to pay the rent, they got to have business. I never see any cars in there, but except the employee. There's usually one car in the lot when I go past. Of course, DVDs, magazines, the whole 9 yards. Oh, shit, hang on. I just heard a crash in the kitchen again. Goddamn cats. Damn cat. What the hell was that? Goofy ass cats in heat. She must have been rolling around up on the stove and knocked the goddamn burner covers off. Although I walked out the kitchen with this and all of a sudden the fur went. Must have scared the shit out of her. She's like, there's a stranger in the house. Then she took off and ran upstairs. She don't like strangers. But immediately the fur just went. She looked like she stuck her foot in a light socket. I even forgot I had it on. I realized why it was so hot. It had a liner I forgot to take out. I took it off last night, and I hung it up. And today I picked it up and I went, oh, what's this thin plastic in here? Yeah, it had a plastic liner in it. That's why I was sweating my hair, you know. At least it's arid now. I guess maybe when I take things out of the package, I should look a little closer. So, Ron, we're waiting in suspense. How did it go with the real estate? Oh, that's tomorrow. Sorry. I told you I'm a day ahead. That's tomorrow. Not today. Scared the shit out of Ron. He was like, holy shit. I was supposed to see the real estate agent today. 3 houses tomorrow. Does one out of the 3 look really appealing? Something that maybe you pop an offer on? Oh, really? What is it? Is it the house itself or the location or is it basically you're having a tough decision out of the 3? See, that's why a lot of times you can't go by pictures. Because sometimes pictures are a bit deceiving. Because, you know, like when they take a picture like the living room or that, they always stand back as far as they can so it looks so big. And then you get in there and go, Jesus Christ, this is the size of a shoebox. You know, like the house across the street, you know, she had to stand way, 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 way back to shoot that living room. I'm not sure that living room is as big as it looks in that picture. Hey, there, TV's here. How's it going there, buddy? Yeah, back by popular demand, Grumpy Stern. And I can actually do the whole show with the wig on because I realized last night why my head was sweating is because there was a plastic liner inside I forgot to take out. Yeah, I started the show with the sunglasses, but I can't see shit. And I've got a pair of sunglasses that got bifocals in them, and I can't find them. Because it would have been cool to do the show with the sunglasses like Howard does. Of course, he don't have to read anything, you know. He just wings it. When he gets a guest on, you know, he already has the questions in his head. You know, you talk about a difference in disc jockeys. Well, what do they call them? Radio personalities now. When I went to WMJI before Lanigan retired, everybody was standing. And then I was watching some YouTube videos of the Howard Stern show, and he's sitting back in a chair, and he's got his foot up on the console and laid back, you know, microphone pulled over. I'm like, man, what a difference between one radio station and another. Yeah, there were no chairs. The console was in the middle of the floor, and all four of the people were standing. That was a cool day, though. Standing right there at the console next to Lanigan. He'd break for a commercial, and him and I'd be chit-chatting back and forth. Talk to me like him and I were buddies for years. Then he'd go, they'd come back from commercial. Then he'd go to commercial, we'd be chit-chatting again. His co-host wasn't too impressed with me, but I didn't care. I wasn't there to see the co-host. As far as I was concerned, the co-host was an asshole. Then I'll tell you, his replacement, you talk about somebody that's got the personality of a dead fish. The guy was the weatherman at either 3 or 5. And how he got that position, I'll never understand, because he can't interview for shit. I mean, like with Lanigan, if he would get an author, Lanigan would actually read the book. And then if something in the book interested him, he would mark it, you know, and he'd say to the author, well, you know, on page 47, and sometimes the authors would be like, wow, this guy actually read the book. He didn't just read the leaflet on the front and the back. Matter of fact, I can't even think of the guy's name. I quit listening after Lanigan retired because it wasn't worth it anymore. And then I would listen on AM to, I can't think of what Trebisano's first name was. Then Trebisano died. I think he had a heart attack. I was like, geez, all the radio personalities I listened to, gone. I used to really like listening to NPR, National Public Radio, but when the funding got caught, there went that station. Of course, I was reading now Trump wants them to name a goddamn airport down in Florida after him. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He already screwed the Kennedy Center up. Now they have to name an airport after him. Did anybody see the new paint scheme for the brand new Air Force Ones? He's doing away with the two-tone blue. The new paint scheme is red, white, blue, and gold. Oh, Jesus. Talk about a guy with a precious metal hang-up. I can almost imagine what the inside of Air Force One is going to look like. We already configure that anything to do, like his private suite in the back, it's probably going to be all gold. I don't like the new paint scheme. They've got pictures, and I mean, Air Force One has been recognized for a gazillion years for the two-tone blue paint scheme. That goes back to the Kennedy era. Of course, Kennedy was a Democrat, so we can't have that paint scheme on the new plane. But yeah, it's dark red, dark blue. The most of the plane is white, and then it's got gold. Yeah, the new paint scheme's disgusting. But see, they kept saying, they keep saying, well, it's from the Kennedy era. It's time to be updated. Well, I guarantee if Kennedy would have been a Republican, the paint scheme would have stayed. Plus, he knows that even, when he's out of office, Air Force One will be around for 25 years, at least, with his paint scheme. God, how old is Air Force One? 25, 30 years old? Although they do constant upgrades. Like when they put the bigger engines on it. That 747 takes off like a rocket. Man, he wanted to update the fleet of presidential limousines. And the Secret Service overruled him and said, no, we're not ordering 12 more new limousines, asshole. Hard to believe, 12 of them cars. At like $3 million apiece. 12. Not one, not two, 12. Parked in a secret garage in Washington, D.C. Can't be too secret. They open the garage door and pull that car out, and they go, oh, that's where they keep them, huh? 35 years old. I knew it was old. So figure the new Air Force One will be around at least 30 years. With that shitty paint scheme. I would hope that when he leaves office, the incoming president said, "Let's repaint Air Force One." Because the paint colors are the same colors that are on his private jet. Gee, could you play that car radio just a little louder? Yeah, and they were saying once the new planes are delivered, the old ones are going to get blown up. So the Secret Service can test the ballistics on the plane. Like they do with the old limousines. They blow them up. And whatever's left of them, they blow that up too. You know, they used to send the old presidential limousines to museums. I remember when Kennedy's limousine was making the museum tours, and it was at Crawford. Matter of fact, Kennedy's car was there. Trying to think. Truman's car, Reagan's car. Because Reagan's car was a Lincoln. I mean, so was Kennedy's, but that's when Lincoln beat Cadillac out. Oh, man, talk about controversy. Although every year Lincoln bids when they say, we're thinking of replacing the fleet. I'd like to see Lincoln get back in. Although, I mean, all it is sheet metal. Underneath that is a frickin' pickup truck chassis. Because when you listen close, it's a diesel. Oh, I'm sure they'll blow them up too. Yeah, people don't realize the undercarriage of the presidential limousines are Chevy Silverado 3500s with diesel engines. It's a 1-ton pickup truck chassis underneath that car. That's about all they'll divulge. Matter of fact, it took a long time before the Secret Service would admit But people were going, it's a front-wheel drive Cadillac with rear-wheel drive and a diesel engine. Come on. That ain't a Cadillac. Yeah, the undercarriage is a Chevy Silverado 1-ton pickup truck. Modified to look like a car. Part of the giveaway, besides it being a diesel, is look at the size of the tires on that thing. Pooey. Yeah, it was cold today. Boy, yesterday it was nice out. I actually went out with just a hoodie. Today I wake up, look at the temperature, 34 degrees. I was like, holy shit. What is it now? 33. That explains why the furnace has been cranking. Yeah, good old 33 and cloudy. And since I don't have my weather app anymore, I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow. Got rid of that shit. Data sucking app. Yeah, I needed some small baking racks. So I ordered a set of 3, okay? They showed delivered today. Now, I look in the milk chute, no racks. I look in the side door, no racks. I look outside the house, no racks. I look on the front porch, no racks. So I come in and I looked at the delivery, and it says, delivered to front desk / reception / mailroom. So I messaged the seller and I said, where did they deliver my baking racks? Because they didn't deliver them to my house. And the seller come back and said, it says delivered to front desk, reception, mailroom. So I messaged the seller back and I said, this is a single family home on a residential street. None of the houses here have front desks, reception, or mailroom. Where are my baking racks? I've yet to hear back. But they didn't get delivered here. Because I don't have a front desk / reception / mailroom. Yeah, he sends me back the same thing that I read off the tracking. Where did you send them, asshole? You didn't send them here. So I told him, I want a refund. And if he don't give me a refund, I'll just notify eBay and PayPal. And they'll give me my money back. I had one like that, oh, God, it was last summer. Said the same thing. And the idiot kept insisting he sent them to my address. I said, if you would have sent them to my address, I wouldn't be complaining. So you didn't send, I can't remember what I ordered off of eBay. Whatever it was, I didn't get it. And that idiot argued back and forth with me. So I contacted eBay. And within 24 hours, I had a full refund. That's almost as bad as, God, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I ordered a cordless Dremel. And the guy shipped it. Out of Idaho. And the last place it showed was the main downtown. And it never moved. So I contacted the guy and I said, hey, this package like died at the main downtown. I don't have it. So he said, no problem. He checked. Next thing you know, he said, I'm sending you another one free of charge. If you get the other one, I'll send you a return shipping label. That was 5 years ago. That first cordless Dremel tool is still floating around somewhere in cyberspace because it never left the main. And when I talked to my mail carrier, she had worked down there. And she said, there ain't no way of stealing anything out of that building. She goes, there are fucking cameras everywhere. I said, well, it shows that, a matter of fact, I printed it out. I said, it's there. Somewhere. She said, if you work down there, you would understand. Because they have a room of packages that, like, the shipping label might be blurred out or something. And she goes, there are bins and bins and bins and bins of packages. But they are too short-handed to have an employee go in and start sorting through the bins. And that's probably where it's at. Sitting in a bin for 5 years at the main post office. But the guy was nice enough to send me another Dremel free of charge. I use it all the time. I love it. Cordless, rechargeable. That way I don't have to drag an extension cord out if I'm working on the car or something. But it just vanished into thin air. But she told me there are mountains of undeliverable packages. And they're so short-handed, it's not like they can say, hey, Charlie, start working in that room back there with 550 million packages. Because you would think if the address got fucked up and there was a return address, they'd ship it back to the person that sent it. Nope. They throw it in a bin and it goes into packaged purgatory. Well, the walking belly's here. You're a little late. You're usually in here at 8:30. Oh, I know. You're starving to death. You're ready to fall over from hunger. I know. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to feed the walking belly. It's amazing. This don't scare him, but it scares my son's cat. He's just sitting there looking at me like, what do you got on your head? That's a weird looking beanie. It's not a beanie. It's a wig. Yeah, Kathy, you would think that instead of just throwing them in limbo, if the seller, the sender's address is legible, they would ship it back. Nope. And it's been, oh Christ, it's over 5 years. Watch, one day it'll show up. All right, everybody. I have to feed the walking belly because he's starving to death. All right. Thanks for everybody being here. It's been another fun night. We know where, right here, WDWL TV, the home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And remember, we had another appearance by the Grumpy Jackalope. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night. I don't know if Grumpy Stern will be here tomorrow night or not, but you'll get the surprise when we go on the air. And with that, see ya. And see you number 2.